ठीक है. Okay, so I take off. Mm, of course, I'm thankful to my old friends, Agop Sezion, Wasim Musallam, Carbonell, and the entire group of distinguished scientists present here. And when I was discussing with Professor Agop Sezion about what should I talk, uh, I had 2 points in my mind. Maybe I could emphasize on the need for a quantum theory of gravity, or perhaps I could even discuss little bit a candidate theory towards the quantum theory of gravity. So I think in short, I could mention a few points about the so-called need for a quantum theory of gravity. See, there are many situations where our present well-known quantum field theory, which is of course the most accurate theory of nature that we have known so far, and it is being verified experimentally to several digits in terms of the standard model, which is just the relativistic quantum field theory. However, this standard model does not include gravity into its fold, and it talks about the quantization of three fields: the electromagnetic field, electroweak, and the strong force, but not gravity field. If we think of some very hypothetical situations, some thought experiments like the collision of two protons, where each proton is being accelerated, let us say, to 10 to the power 18 times the rest mass c square, then what would happen if you calculate the gravitational force between two such protons, and you also calculate the electromagnetic or electrostatic force between them, and you take a ratio of these two, it will come out to be 1. However, if you do not accelerate the just two protons sitting at the some same distance r, then this would be the gravitational force would be 10 to the power minus 36 times the electromagnetic force. So you can practically forget about it. But if like this experiment that I just mentioned, then no experiment would be able to make a prediction about of this thought experiment. And also when it comes to the singularities in the general relativity is also a very extremely successful theory, but it's a classical field theory of gravity. And quantum theory is also extremely successful, but it is operative at small distances. So like if you consider, for example, a plot of the gravitational potential energy because of a mass m, you find that heavier the mass, deeper the singularity, right? If you make a plot of the gravitational potential energy generated because of some mass m, then so I mean, as compared to the mass of a sun and that of a black hole is much heavier, so the potential energy will be much deeper, right? And then again you will have the so-called event horizons or Schwarzschild radius, and what happens beyond that event horizon, if you want to explore further, then our classical field theory of gravity would not explain, which is general relativity, would not answer our questions. Also the same applies to if you run the universe backwards in time, you hit upon this singularity called a Big Bang. So close to that Big Bang, also general relativity cannot answer our questions. These are some of the motivations that one would like to. So actually, the quantum field theory, which is so successful, really describes zero-dimensional particles and fields. And the other possibility could be to look for, construct a theory for one-dimensional objects. They could be open or closed strings. So if you represent your particles and fields by one-dimensional objects, this is another possibility. In this, what happens in the quantum conventional quantum field theory or standard model, you see then delta x and delta p, you see delta x can go all the way up to 0 and delta p can go all the way up to infinite. So if you consider any process transition amplitude for any process or the Feynman diagram, here delta x can go to 0 and delta p can go to infinite. So these virtual particles in these diagrams, they can have almost infinite energy and momentum, and this leads to divergences. But however, one can renormalize the theory in terms of radiative corrections diagrams and so on, and this is a perfectly fine thing. However, if you write the corresponding quantum field theory for gravity, so bringing in gravitons into the picture as the force carriers, then this is not possible to do the renormalization of the theory, and you cannot get rid of the infinities that now arise because of this. So a simple thing is to consider extended objects, so like one-dimensional objects. So here now the uncertainty principle in a way gets little bit generalized, that delta x no longer goes to 0 and delta p no longer goes to infinity. So for example, so here this kind of a vertex now gets generalized. So it's a spreaded vertex in the space-time manifold, and this could be open strings or they could be closed strings. So basically the vertex is now spreaded in space-time, and this avoids these singularities that are equal to 0, and this also eliminates the minimizes the chance of the infinities occurring in the renormalization process, because now if you construct this kind of a theory, then the theory becomes super renormalizable by construction, and this theory by construction also includes gravity into the fold. So this is the main idea of behind this. Now, if you consider a relativistic point particle, so as the relativistic point particle moves into the space-time manifold, this will sweep out a trajectory which you call as the bird line. However, if a one-dimensional object moves around in space-time, so it could be because of the open string or because of the cold string. You can now parameterize the motion of this. This is a so-called bird seed being swept out by the motion of a one-dimensional object, and so this essentially is, you can generalize it to further higher dimensional volumes, like catch mu as a function of tau sigma 1 sigma 2 to give you the membrane theory, and sigma 1 sigma 2 sigma 3 the D3 brane, and so on. So here the main idea is, if you write down the line element, then and I can redefine this as G alpha beta. So here this is minus G alpha beta and D. So here this measures the distances in the so-called space-time manifold. However, this ds square given by this, it's a different measure. It measures the distances in the bird seed space. So that is the main idea, and this G alpha beta is called as the induced metric on the bird seed. Why it is called induced? Because by definition, it involves the metric of the space-time manifold. So the metric of the bird seed involves the metric of the space-time manifold. That is the main idea, and therefore it is called as the induced metric on the bird seed. Now, you could let me just discuss the simplest and perhaps the best known action for this theory. So this just I'm writing for the purely bosonic theory. So minus T by 2 d2 sigma So this H alpha beta is a two-dimensional auxiliary field, which is a tensor field on the bird seed, and this G alpha beta we already introduced. So actually here, if you study the variation of this H is the determinant of H alpha beta. So